Recognize the MLA for Halifax Citadel Sable Island.
I'm going to turn to the question of labor force and workers. So how many registered farms in Nova Scotia employ migrant workers during the past year?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have approximately 1,600 temporary foreign workers a year in Nova Scotia. They apply to this federal program, to the federal government for that program, so we don't directly see information on which farms they may go to.
I recognize the member for Halifax Citadel Sable Island.
So to clarify, you aren't able to say how many migrant workers work in the agriculture sector as opposed to fisheries, as opposed to agriculture or aquaculture, excuse me. You don't know how many work on farms.
I recognize the Minister of Agriculture.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I do. 1,600. Through the chair.
I recognize the member for Halifax Citadel Sable Island.
Okay, well, that clarification is helpful. So there's 1,600 migrant workers who work on farms in the province. How does the minister work with the Department of Labor to ensure that, you know, working standards and working conditions are correct and maintained?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We work closely with Labour Skills and Immigration. We have a staff member who attends on our behalf on the Labour Committee. Most of this work is led by industry through the Nova Scotia Federation of Agriculture. They are the labour force sector for agriculture. So we support them through funding, and as I mentioned, to support staff on the Labour Committee. But again, this is industry led.
I recognize the member for Halifax Citadel Sable Island.
And I mean, as we all know, you know, if we have a commitment to local food, we have a commitment to ensuring that migrant workers feel welcomed and feel supported when they're here. Not to date myself, but I can remember some of the earlier days of folks coming to the Annapolis Valley. But you know, one of the issues is that they don't qualify for MSI upon arrival. So employers have to opt in. Well, through their employers, they are provided with some insurance, but it's not adequate. I know we've talked about this before at this table, and I believe that the deputy at that time, or the minister, assured us that they were working on this issue. So could the minister talk to their efforts to ensure that migrant workers are eligible for MSI from the moment they arrive in Nova Scotia?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So MSI is, of course, under the responsibility of the Minister of Health. We do hear this from industry, and I've raised it with my colleague, and will continue to do so. To the comment about you know, making sure that temporary foreign workers are treated well when they're here, that's certainly been my experience. I know, you know, we can hear about bad apples here and there, but I hear lots of stories about temporary foreign workers who return to the same farm year after year because they are treated so well. They're treated like family. You know, the farm owners, farm family may drive them into town to get their groceries at the end of the week, or, you know, do different things with them, and they really are welcomed as part of the family. So I do believe that, you know, the vast majority of our temporary foreign workers are treated well, and I'll continue to advocate on their behalf.
I recognize the member for Halifax Citadel Sable Island.
Thank you. And I mean, I couldn't agree with the minister more that, in fact, a lot of folks have been coming back to the same farm and the same community for decades at this point. And that's all the more reason why, you know, because of their length of stay in the province, not only does it affect their ability to access MSI, but it also affects their ability to apply for permanent residency. So is the minister undertaking lobbying with his federal counterpart to open up a permanent residency pathway for temporary foreign workers in the agricultural industry?
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So labor is a key topic at my FPT tables. It is challenging. We've talked about it a number of times. But there is such a need in agriculture. It often falls to the responsibility of other departments. So we try to collaborate on initiatives and priorities. It was a topic that, so yes, always advocate to my federal colleagues on issues important to the industry, this would being one of them. In fact, it just came up recently at a meeting with my Atlantic colleagues, Atlantic Ministers meeting in Charlottetown in January. We are trying to see what we can do to work together. We had our colleagues from the Atlantic Federations join us at that meeting and discuss the topic and talked about several paths forward. So yes, continue to advocate at the federal level, at the Atlantic level, and the provincial level. Okay. So yes, continue to advocate, and we'll continue to do so going forward.
I recognize the honourable member, Halifax Citadel, Sable Island.